All right, I'll call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Public Works this Tuesday, June 9th of 2020. First up, we have messages from board members. Do we have any messages from the board?
Just every couple of weeks, I like to thank everyone and to say good job to all the workers out there that during this COVID-19 pandemic. They do a good job, and I just want to thank them and say good job.
I'm sure they all appreciate that, Beth. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Beth.
Yeah.
Next up, we have petitions and remonstrances. If anyone is here to make a public comment about something that is not on our agenda this evening, now is the opportunity to do so. Do we have anyone who would like to make public comment about something not on the agenda?
Kyla, it looks like Jar Turner is speaking, but he's not unmuted.
Sorry about that. I've just fixed that.
We can hear you now.
I am Jar Turner. I'm the station manager at WFHB. I know it was not on the agenda to discuss the transfer of that building tonight, but I wonder if there's any resource or any person that I could contact. I've since the press release, I have not really had a person to talk to about any of this, how this is going to go down. So I know this is public comment, but I don't know if if you have any response.
Yeah, I'll turn this over to Adam.
Hey, thanks, Kyla. Jar, this is Adam Wason, Public Works Director. If you would, if you wouldn't mind either privately chatting me in the Zoom meeting here with contact information, I'm sure we can get our engagement director, either Mary Catherine Carmichael, to reach out, or some other folks that have been part of these initial conversations with Ivy Tech to help you folks navigate these what's coming.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any other public comment on items not on the agenda? All right, I'm seeing none. Next up is a hearing on excessive growth appeal. The first is appeal excessive growth citation number 45427 at 1120 North Walnut Street.
Thank you. This is Chris Wheeler, City Legal. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Good evening. Is Mike Arnold also present?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent. So is the appellant present, B&B Partnership?
I'm unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Mr. Goll, is that Mr. Goll?
Yes, it is.
This is not your agenda item. There's 2 more agenda items before yours, sir. We'll definitely let you know. I will let you know.
I can stay on.
You just stay on the phone. It'll be about 10 minutes. Mr. Wheeler, you're trying to identify if some other petitioners are on the call, correct?
Yes, I'm trying to see if anybody with B&B Partnership LLC is present.
I would tell them that you object to the Zoom process. You weren't advised of it in advance. Or were you? They saw an email. When did you get that email?
Which email?
I saw something about it. You sent me.
Yeah.
Let's get there.
All right, I think I've got that on mute. Do we have anybody from B&B Properties? I see a Mr. Bennett on here. I'm not sure if that would be him.
Is it possible that we do have the petitioner, and is that the person muted, or?
No, the other person muted was Mr. Gold for 26.
I'm not the man you're looking for. This is Chuck Beckett.
Okay, Chuck, that's not you.
Thank you.
Okay, Chris, I don't know that, Mr. Wheeler, I don't know that we have them on the call or not, but if you'd like to proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wason. So the city has two reasons why the board should deny the appeal and uphold the ticket as issued. The first reason is that appeals of Title VI overgrowth must be submitted to the board no later than 7 days from the date of the NOV, the notice of violation. The notice of violation was issued on the 14th of May. The appeal was not provided to the board Public Works until the 25th, which is 11 days. So that alone should be enough justification. But arguendo, then I would also state that the reasoning and rationale provided in the appeal by B&B Partnership for why they did not maintain their lawn was because of COVID-19. They asked for relief from the ticket, stating that they were unable to get the property mowed due to the pandemic. Governor Holcomb's executive orders didn't suspend local ordinances that require persons to keep their lawns maintained, and certainly didn't direct property owners to not maintain their properties as necessary. I don't believe that the argument maintained by B&B is something that is recognized as a valid defense to Title VI and the need to maintain your lawn. I would ask that the ticket be upheld as issued and the appeal denied.
Thank you. Now, I will check just one more time for any indication as to whether the appellant is on the line.
Thank you. And also Mike Arnold, the inspector who issued the citations, is present if the board has any questions of Mike.
Thank you.
Okay.
Boy.
All right. Questions from the board on this item?
Actually, if I could ask a question here, Mr. Wheeler, is this just to uphold the citation? And is there anything that would keep us from taking this up at our next meeting?
This is an appeal of the ticket itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, that's the issue. And there is no reason why we wouldn't be able to move it to the next board meeting 2 weeks from now.
Okay, it did sound like, were you expecting that the petitioner be on?
Me?
Yes.
No, I just always want to know because the appellant should have the first bite of the apple.
Sure.
If there's not a problem with holding it to the next meeting, I think that I would prefer that. I have a couple of questions on this item, and it does seem like it would be beneficial if the person making the appeal were present.
Okay.
I have no objection to that. I don't think that it harms the city.
While we're talking about this, I'm actually going to make a recommendation, if I may. We've had some conversation. So there's also some issue with the notification that there's potential issue with notification for the Title VI enforcement for 2611 East Round Hill as well. I think at this time it might make sense for us just to move all three of the item or the two items for hearing on excessive growth and the Title VI enforcement to the next meeting. I've had extensive conversations with Mr. Gold this evening as well for the Title VI enforcement, and he would like additional time. I know that this has been long and ongoing, and but he feels as his notification was not made correctly, and I want to make sure we are all have done that correctly.
Again, city has no objection.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wheeler. I appreciate that very much.
Thank you. So from other board members, do we have any questions about the staff recommendation before we go ahead and make a motion to move to table those items for the next meeting?
No.
No, I'm okay with that.
Okay, do we have
if you don't mind, could I just ask a question of City Legal here? I know we have Mike Rooker and Chris Wheeler and Jackie Moore. We got several representatives. You know, what I'm struggling with here is we've had an indication that notices that went out to let folks know about this meeting, especially for the Title VI enforcement, listed that the meeting would be at City Hall. I know we do have Mr. Goal on the call right now, and his item would be coming up, but he feels like since it wasn't listed that this would be an online meeting, we have not met our notification procedures. I just asked City Legal to provide us if you have any opinion on whether or not we have Mr. Goal on the call right now. We've notified him throughout the day of exactly how to get on the call. If you feel that that is enough to continue on with the Title VI enforcement.
Who wants to speak on this? This is Mike Rooker, City Attorney.
Yeah, I haven't seen the actual notifications. So do they say there's a physical presence at City Hall as opposed to a virtual presence at City Hall?
I believe the notification that what Mr. Goal stated to me was that the notification from hand stated that the meeting would take place at City Hall, and it did not inform him of this virtual meeting.
But Mr. Goal is on the call right now.
He is. I will unmute him now. Well, actually, let's do it if we could.
Let's table those first.
Yeah, would we like to table the two for the appeals and then go from there to the next step?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would prefer, personally, I would prefer to table all three. If Mr. Gould felt he was improperly noticed, I would rather table those items until the next meeting.
And I'll just weigh in again. I'm sorry to jump in like this, but I would agree that if notification was that persons were to be physically present at City Hall for the meeting, it's possible that that's what they would have done. It's fortunate for Mr. Gull that he found out and showed up online, but he could have missed. I think to be ultimately safe and not sorry, we should table this for the next meeting and send out proper notice of a virtual meeting for these appeals and for the abatement.
Okay, I appreciate that, Chris. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So do we have a motion? I think each of these would be a motion to table individually.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would recommend, yes.
Thank you. All right, do we have a motion on the tabling of appeal of citation 45427?
I move that we table the appeal of excessive gross citation 45427 until the next meeting. And I don't have that date, so let's see.
I second.
Excuse me. What? Hello. I'm here for an excessive growth. I don't have my citation number, so I don't want to. I don't know what is the tabling. We've been on this call for 40 minutes waiting, so.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out. I don't know. It's 124 North Bryan, so I don't want you just to say the citation number.
That's the next one.
Yeah, it's the next one. And if you would prefer we go ahead and hear that this evening, that would be fine, I think, with the board.
Thank you. I would.
Okay. So right now we have a motion and a second on the tabling of citation 45427, which is 1120 North Walnut Street. Do we have any other comment before we take a vote from the public? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We'll go ahead and move on to appeal of excessive gross citation number 45499, which is at 124 Bryan Avenue, and we'll have staff report on that item.
And I would defer to the appellant to state his case before the city gives its rebuttal.
Rebuttal automatically implies. Okay. Love it. Yes, we just acquired the property. We live in Carmel. We did our best. We called several landscapers. None of that. No return phone calls. Not taking new customers. It was very difficult and challenging. Again, we did our best to get down there, but could not. I did file that. I called to file within 7 days to get information. I didn't know how to file appeal. It was not on. I had to go and do research. I left the phone mail. I played phone tag for 3 days, and finally someone sent me the paperwork. So I know I probably missed the date of appeal, the 7 days. But when you play phone tag back and forth, and then the day to file it, I probably missed it by a day or two. So again, we tried our best to get down there. We just acquired the property on April 10th.
Okay, thank you. Now, Mr. Wheeler, did you want to offer some context?
Yes, thank you. So very similar to what I stated in the previous appeal that then became tabled. There are two reasons why we believe that the tickets were properly issued and the appeal should be denied. First of all, the appeal was not timely filed. It must be filed no later than 7 days from the date of the NOV. The NOV was issued on the 21st of May, and the appeal was filed with Board of Public Works on the 2nd of June. That's 13 days after the date of the NOV. That alone causes the ticket to be upheld and the appeal to be denied. But going further, the second reason for why these tickets should be upheld and the appeal denied is that when Neighborhood Compliance Officer Kenny Lyford inspected the property, he did personally observe that weeds and grass had grown to a height in excess of 8 inches. The photographs that are in the packet show a measuring tape that shows the excess of growth. And a person as an owner asking for relief from a ticket just stating that they're unable to get to Bloomington to mow their grass is not a recognizable defense to this violation. Again, I realize that there's a pandemic going on, but I don't believe that it prevented somebody from driving down here and mowing their grass. There is Kenny Lyford on the. I believe Kenny Lyford is here, and he was the officer who issued the NOV, and he's available for answering questions.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and open it up for board questions on this item.
Looks like the lawn has been mowed. Is that true?
Mr. Lyford, are you on the phone?
Yes, the grass has been cut now. I issued the warning to that property on 5/12 of this year. And then I went back on 5/21 and the grass had not been cut. It was well over 8 inches. So that's when I issued the citation, but it has been cut since then.
Thank you.
Okay, that was one of my questions because I don't think I saw the warning. So you said that it was May 12th that you issued a warning?
Correct. And I received no phone call or nothing. And, if somebody was to call and say they were having a problem, that's one thing, but I did receive nothing. And then on the 21st, I issued the citation with a fine.
But the owner did say he'd been back and forth on the phone with someone. So who would he have been speaking with?
I do not know that.
So the address on these citations is a Bloomington address. There's both an owner name and agent name, both a Bloomington address. So I guess I'm a little bit confused about the way these were delivered and the problems that the appellant had cited with receiving them and being out of town.
Well, we can only issue citations to what's in Rent Pro, and it's up to the owner to get that property recorded in their name. So we just go with what information is provided to us, and that's who gets a copy, owner and agent.
Okay.
can I speak that again? This is the owner.
Sure, go ahead.
When the property was purchased, all addresses were submitted with a Carmel, Indiana address. All mailing addresses were not to be the 124 Bryan Avenue address. So no mailing should go to that address.
So was Flying Fish Real Estate a previous owner?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess this is Adam Wason here again. Is this Kevin and Andy LeBlanc?
Yes.
Yeah. So has the property been updated with the city's Housing and Neighborhood Development Department? Your contact information for the property at this time?
No, because it's not. As I read that, we have not. That's not been decided to be a rental yet.
Okay, so it's been previously listed. So that when Mr. Lyford refers to Rent Pro, that's the system that tracks all rental properties and and who owns them and how we should contact those folks. So, at this time, we'll update that.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
I lost you. I didn't hear anything you said. Sorry.
So what I was referring to is that our city uses a software system called Rent Pro to track properties, who owns them, for rental inspection and rental registration. So that's where that information is important to us. I heard you state that you don't know if it'll be used as a rental going forward or not, but that was the information we had for the property. So I think we can work with hand staff to make sure we at least update going forward here.
Thank you.
And this is Chris Wheeler with City Legal. I'd like to jump in for a second and remind the board that under the enforcement procedures for Title VI, under 6.06.070, subsection B, the notice of violation is to be in writing, and it is required to be served on one or more of the responsible parties, and one of the responsible parties is the owner. The manner of delivery of the notice of violation can be delivering it in person, by first-class mail, and or by placement in a conspicuous place on the property where the violation occurs. Mr. Lyford, did you place the NOV on the property or mail it, or both?
Both. Taped a copy to the door and brought it back to the office where a copy was mailed to owner and agent that we had listed.
And so that is an appropriate issuance of the notice of violation, regardless of what address might have been used. It was actually posted at the property as well.
Yeah, that's understood. I think, Mr. Wheeler, I think we do need to take into account some of the circumstances. We've got out-of-town owners right here. I'm going to recommend that we table this one as well to discuss further as a board and with the property owner.
Well, again, this isn't my decision to make. I'm just making an argument as to why it was properly issued and why it should be upheld. If the board wishes to table, the city has no objection.
Okay.
All right. Are there remaining questions from the board at this time?
The only question I had was for the property owner, Mr. LeBlanc, am I saying that right? I was just wondering if you had tried to call like after the warning, or was it after the actual fine that you received?
We got down there and there were 2 notices on there. So it had been about 10, 12 days since we've been down there.
Okay.
And maybe a little bit longer. And both were there. There was mowed that day we were there, and we got back. It's been mowed twice since then. But we immediately got back, and I sent emails and then played phone tag for 3 days with people, understandably so. And, by the way, just so you know, we can't use COVID, but on your answering machine, it says, we're all working from home because of COVID. It's just a little bit ironic, but I'll leave it at that.
Mr. LeBlanc, you hadn't received any notification at your Carmel address. You had not received a notification there. You had not.
None. Nope. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. There's a staff recommendation to take some additional time to review this specific case and table this item potentially for the next meeting. Is there a motion of that or a motion otherwise that the board wants to entertain?
I'm personally fine with voting now. So I'll make a motion to, I guess, what would it be? Not, I think we should cut some slack with COVID going on, and under the circumstances, it does appear that by the time they got there, they had the 2 notices, they weren't notified at their home. It's kind of an outlier. I'm fine with making a motion to,
If you can either deny the appeal or uphold the appeal, and in this case, it sounds like you want to uphold the appeal.
thank you. That's what I would like to make a motion on, to uphold the appeal.
Second.
All right. Do we have any public comment on that motion? I'm sensing no comment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you for your consideration. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
All right. The next item on the agenda, we had discussed earlier that due to concerns about notification that the board was interested in tabling that item. It is the Title VI enforcement approved permission to abate property at 2611 East Round Hill Lane. Do we have any questions from the board on that item before we entertain a motion? Okay.
No.
Is there a motion to table that item?
Kyle, if I may just jump in here real
Sure.
quick here. I do want to clarify with either city legal or hand staff. Do we have any idea if the notifications going out are including the electronic meeting notification?
I don't have any personal knowledge, so I'm not chiming in. I'll just let you know that. This is Chris
Okay.
Wheeler with City Legal.
Thank you, Chris. Does anybody from hand want to comment on whether or not those notifications are including the virtual meeting? Okay. I do see I believe we still have Mr. Goll on the phone. Mr. Goll, the recommendation from staff is that we will we will ask for a table of this to the meeting from 2 weeks from now, and that we will make sure we properly contact you to inform you of exactly when the meeting will occur.
Okay.
All right. Do we have a motion from the board on that?
I move that we table the abatement of the property at 2611 East Round Hill Lane until the next meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next up is the consent agenda. Under the consent agenda is the approval of minutes for May 26th, 2020, approval of Title VI abatement contract, and approval of the payroll register. Do we have any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda this evening? Do we have any public comment on any items within the consent agenda? Hearing none. Do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
I move approval.
I move that we approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next up, we have new business. First under new business is Resolution 2020-27, approved public benefit of the South Maxwell Street Sidewalk Project.
Good evening. This is Neil Copper, Planning and Transportation. This is a project that was prioritized by the City Council Sidewalk Committee. It installs a new sidewalk on South Maxwell Street from East Miller Drive to East Short Street. The project does require purchase of additional right-of-way from one parcel. This is a standard resolution that we do to verify and confirm that the project serves a public purpose. We do these before any right-of-way acquisitions for project. Staff recommends approval.
All right, questions from the board on this item?
I have no questions this evening.
Any public comment on this item? Hearing none. Do we have a motion on this item?
I move that we approve Resolution 2020-27, approve public benefit of the South Maxwell Street Sidewalk Project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next up is approve addendum number 1 to agreement for consulting services for the Maxwell Street Sidewalk Project with Bynum Fanyo and Associates, Inc.
Neil Copper again. This is the same project for sidewalk on South Maxwell Street. Bynum Fanyo is currently under contract to design the project, and this addendum would add the right-of-way services necessary for us to acquire that single right-of-way parcel we just discussed. The additional services add $4,925 to the contract for a new not to exceed amount of $25,845, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Questions from the board on this item?
No.
Are there any public comments on this item? Hearing none. Is there a motion on this item?
I move that we approve addendum number 1 to agreement for consulting services for the Maxwell Street Sidewalk Project with Bynum Fanyo and Associates, Inc.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next up, we have approve addendum to agreement for consulting services for the 7th Street Bike Lane Improvements Project with American Structure Point, Inc.
Neil Copper again. This is one of the city's bicentennial bond projects. It installs physically protected bicycle lanes on 7th Street between the Beeline and Woodlawn Avenue. American Structure Point is currently under contract for the design of that project. One piece of that project is public outreach, and American Structure Point has that in their contract, but with the recent pandemic, we have, of course, been changing around our public outreach strategy and had to move that to an online platform. In order to facilitate that online outreach, we wanted to basically improve the graphics that we have. So adding in services to have more of a street level rendering so people can really see what it would look like in the future and have a better understanding of that since we can't talk to them face to face. So this is an amendment to add in those enhanced graphics. The additional services add $6,963 for a new contract not to exceed amount of $344,982, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Questions from the board on this item?
And I'm just looking forward to seeing the renderings, but I'm very excited about the protected bike lanes in town. I think this is a great idea, and that's glad we're going forward with those.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board? Any public comment on this item? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion on this item?
I move that we approve addendum to agreement for consulting services for the 7th Street Bike Lane Improvement Project with American Structure Point, Inc.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And next up is approve final plat of Mill Creek Phase 2, Section 1.
Let's see. Looked like Sarah Gomez was on here.
Yeah, I see her and she's not muted.
All right, here, let me
I think
jump in.
I think she's having some sound difficulties.
All right, let me get to that part of the packet real quick. All right, so this is the Mill Creek development off of Tap Road, and Sarah and the team in planning and transportation have been actively working with the property developer on getting the public infrastructure improvements as part of their project accepted into the city's inventory. Based on Sarah's inspections and other city staff's inspections, they are recommending approval to accept in this new right of way into the city of Bloomington inventory. And that's, yeah, so this is located at Tap Road and Weimer, and
Hey, Adam.
Yes, sir.
Neil Copper, if I can.
Yeah, please help me here. I was trying to get to the memo.
I don't know much about it, but I'm G-chatting with Sarah Gomez on a separate window, and so she can kind of clarify things through me at least. And she wanted to say that we were only accepting the plat and not the right of way.
Not the right of way. There we go. The final plat as well as the bond. There, I got the staff report in front of me now. The final plat includes the requirement for street trees, sidewalks, side path, and public streets. The public improvement bond estimate was reviewed and approved by planning and transportation staff in the amount of $764,226. Staff recommends the approval of the final plat and the bond amount for the public improvements that eventually we will accept into the city's inventory.
Thank you. Questions from the board on this item?
No questions, just a comment. It was approved first by the plat committee in February of this year. February 20th or 10th, 2020.
Any public comment on this item?
I'm not sure if we're public, but we're the petitioner. I'm Ted Ferguson. I'm the president of Public Investment Corporation, and the directors, Steve Burris and Mary Beth Schmaltz, have been working closely, and I have been working closely with Katie Stein and Smith Brehob and Planning and Transportation to get this development approved, and I think it'll be a wonderful improvement to the southwest side of Bloomington. We appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public at this time? All right, is there a motion from the board on this item?
I move approval of the final plat of Mill Creek Phase 2, Section 1.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next up, we have approved request for full street closure on 10th Street between Fee Lane and Jordan Avenue for IU pedestrian crossing improvement.
All right, I'll give Sarah just a second to see if her audio's fixed. Otherwise, I'll take this one and try not to mess it up as bad as I started to mess up the last one. All right, so IU has been, Indiana University has been in coordination with the city on a major improvement project for the 10th Street corridor there between Fee Lane and Jordan Avenue. IU's also been working with Rondell Ernstberger and Associates. So this will demolish and reconstruct the mid-block crossing between the Kelly School of Business, the O'Neill School of Public Environmental Affairs, and the Wells Library. And so we've all been working very closely to get this project completed in advance of a repaving project on 10th Street from Forest to Jordan. And so staff is recommending approval of this full closure for the construction of the new mid-block crossing. And I know Sarah's been working closely with their team on pedestrian access plans and how they will work to move pedestrians through the project. So we were satisfied with that. And we recommend granting permission for the temporary road and sidewalk closures on East 10th Street. We have Joel Stevens with Indiana University here, and I believe we have a representative of Rundell Ernstberger, Kyle Koger as well. So Joel or Kyle, is there anything you would like to add at this time?
This is Joel Stevens with Indiana University. I just wanted to state that this project is very important to the university. I think it'll be a great benefit to the city as well for pedestrian safety. I believe we've addressed all the comments thus far and are ready to get started on this. So we really appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Any questions from the board on this item?
I just want them to say that all the maintenance traffic plans for the closures have been supplied for all the people that the city of Bloomington, the traffic, police, the campus shuttle, all transportation. Has that all been completed?
Yes, Beth, this is Adam. I'll just state that, yes, we've been in close coordination with all those entities, whether it's police, fire, transit. Actually in discussion, it was, should we try to do it a lane at a time? The full closure would be beneficial for the timeline of the construction, and everyone was in agreement, with the lower amounts of traffic, this was the time to just get in there, get it done with a full closure. So we definitely did all of that coordination.
Thank you.
And we did discuss during the work session the pedestrian plan using the existing pathways to the south of the Wells Library as the alternative pass through when there can't be sidewalk access in that location. Any other questions from the board on this item?
This is about the paving schedule. Are you planning to start that in August and then have it completed by the time students are back?
That's 100% the goal. We've been working really closely with the IU team to try to get it so that we have enough time to get in there and wrap up the paving before the heavy students return.
Students return. Okay, thank you.
Any public comment on this item? I'm hearing none. Is there a motion on this item?
I move that we approve request for full street closure on 10th Street between Fee Lane and Jordan Avenue for the IU pedestrian crossing improvement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. We're glad to hear your voice.
Sorry. Thank you so much for your help.
Sarah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Have a good night. Next up is approved change order number 4 for the Kirkwood Maintenance Project.
Good evening. This is Roy Aiton. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
We can.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. This is the Kirkwood Maintenance Project. The work began on April 1st and substantial completion is contractually still at June 30th, although we believe it'll be done quite sooner. Public Works is now requesting the approval of change order number 4 for the project in the amount of $10,223.60. During construction, it was discovered that 4 of the original 100 bollards that we had planned to place could not be placed on the project due to utility conflicts. This change order will move those 4 bollards to the alleys between Grant and Dunn. The cost of the bollards were already included in the project This change order is covering the cost of the installation and the for the new footers for the bollards. Approval will raise the contract price by $10,223.60 to $1,094,496.55. No additional days are being requested as part of this change order. Staff has reviewed the change order and we are recommending approval.
Thank you. Questions from the board on this item?
No questions.
Any public comment on this item? Hearing none, is there a motion on this item?
I move that we approve change order number 4 for the Kirkwood Maintenance Project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next up, we have approved change orders number 3 through 5 for the Adams Street Sidewalk and Intersection Improvements Project.
Good evening. This is Russell White with City Planning and Transportation. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Awesome. So this are 3 separate change orders for the Adams Street Intersection Improvements Project. Just a little bit of background. The work began by Milestone Construction in the middle of March of this year. This contract includes constructing a sidewalk along the east side of Adams Street, along the cemetery, Rose Hill Cemetery, from Patterson Drive to Kirkwood. They will be replacing some traffic signal equipment at Adams and Kirkwood, and will also be installing physically protected bike lanes. So I'll present each change order individually. Change order number 3 is the result of a modular block wall that's installed between Adams Street and the existing Rose Hill Cemetery wall itself. There was a design we worked through the project to try to get a design, and ultimately we got a nice design for that wall, but one of the things that was missing was a pay item for the structural backfill, the stone that goes behind that wall. And so that's what this change order is. It's to accommodate that a pay item for that particular stone. And this will be an increase in the contract price of $12,016.42. And staff recommends approval of this change order.
Thank you. Are we going to do the presentation of these together, or do we need to separate them out?
I intended to separate them out since they were individual ones and let you vote or question each one individually, if that's okay.
I think I'll jump in. I think, Russell, if you just want to go ahead and present number 4 and 5 here, and then if the board would like to ask questions about any of them, they could.
I will gladly do that, sir. Change order number 4 is the result of an under drain that was found that was running along the base of the Rose Hill Cemetery that we didn't know was there, but we wanted to keep that under drain functioning to keep the wall protected. And so ultimately we had to connect that under drain to 2 or 3 storm inlet structures along the way. So they had to core holes into these inlet boxes to accommodate that under drain and keep that flowing. The increase in the contract price for this was $2,550.91. And staff recommends approval of that change order number 4. For change order number 5, there is a result of an unexpected unclassified or Class X excavation. The majority of that was due to concrete that had to be removed in the island that exists between Adams Street and Kirkwood. We rebuilt it, enlarged it slightly, and was noted after that the curbing was installed that it created an issue for the Bloomington Fire Department to get around it. We had worked with the designers on several ways to negotiate that island, but this was sort of an unexpected route that the fire department would like to take, in that they go on the wrong side of the road and cross it on the opposite side of the road for their safety and public safety. So we ended up having to cut a lot of that concrete out and drop the edge of that north end of that island back a little bit. And there was also some concrete found for a couple of the storm structures in Kirkwood near the cemetery that fall under this Class X also. The result of this change order is an increase of $1,086.57, and staff recommends approval of change order number 5 as well.
Thank you. Questions from the board on these items?
No, not today.
Is there any public comment on these items? All right, I'm hearing none. Can we make a motion for, do we want to proceed with a motion for change order number 3?
Is that the way you want to do it? Just take each one individually and approve them?
Yeah, let's go ahead and just do them individually.
Oh, sorry, I was muted, but yes, I would prefer that they each be voted on separately.
Thank you.
Yes. I move that we approve change order number 3 for the modular block wall at Adams Street reconstruction improvement project.
Second.
All right, we do have a public comment item that came through on this, which is the comment is every wall built is supposed to have stone behind it. Why is this a change order? And also every wall should have a drain behind it or the wall will push and fail. I don't know if Russell, you wanted to just clarify on that. I know we had talked a little bit about that in our work session as well, just the change in the expectation on that project.
Yes, I would gladly. So every wall does have stone existing behind it, but the project there was a design. Let me back up. What we wanted to do and hope was use some older limestone blocks that we had down in storage, but that didn't work out. And so we ended up having to go with a different type of modular block wall. And because we were changing back and forth, some of the pay items weren't included in the original contract, so we could get the project started. So having known what type of wall and what type of stone we needed, then we created this change order to accommodate the stone that's required for that particular wall.
Thank you. Did you want to make any comment about the drain? There was the drain that was a surprise.
I would. There is an under drain under that, but there was also one that existed in the wall behind it. And so we were excavating close enough to the wall that we were affecting the under drain that went to the existing Rose Hill Cemetery wall. So we wanted to connect it to these storm boxes as well, so that everything functioned and we didn't interfere with any other drains running at that time.
Thank you. We do have a motion and a second on change order number 3. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Do we have a motion on change order number 4?
I move that we approve change order number 4 for the under drain on the east side of Adams for the Adams Street sidewalk and intersection improvement project.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Next, do we have a motion on change order number 5?
I move that we approve change order number 5, unexpected Class X excavation and change to the island on the Adams Street Sidewalk and Intersection Improvement Project.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, you too. Next is Resolution 2020-28, approve temporary street closure on Kirkwood Avenue to expand existing seating encroachments.
Thank you, board members. This is Michael Rooker. I'm the city attorney for the city. Also here to speak on Resolution 2020-28 is Alex Crowley, who's the director of the city's Economic and Sustainable Development Department. Resolution 28, I'm never going to be able to say that, is a part of a series of temporary measures being brought forward by the city. These measures come at the request of local businesses to assist the local business community with a recovery following all of the fallout created by COVID-19 and the mandatory business shutdowns that were required as a result of COVID-19. The temporary measures the city is pursuing are scheduled to run through September 30th, 2020, so they are temporary in nature. Among this package of reforms are a number of things. Number one, there's a waiver of sign permit fees through the Plan Commission, and that waiver was granted last night at the Plan Commission meeting. Again, just through September 30th, 2020. A simplification of the permit process is also part of these temporary measures, and that's being done at the staff level. There's also the planned closure of portions of Kirkwood Avenue for the weekend of June 19th, and then possibly during future weekends as well through September 30th. And again, I think we discussed this yesterday at the work session. That can also be done at the staff level. And then finally, what we're here for tonight, which is the relaxing of rules in Title 12 related to seating and merchandising encroachments in the right-of-way. We would like to allow, or the business community and the city would like to support, allowing seating and merchandising encroachments to expand into the right-of-way during those weekends when Kirkwood Avenue is being shut down or portions of it are being shut down. That'll allow additional seating capacity for restaurants and additional space for merchants, which is particularly important at this time because social distancing is so important, so capacity is at a premium. Specifically, Resolution 2020-28 allows the following temporary measures. Number one, it allows the Kirkwood Community Association to submit a single application for additional seating encroachments on behalf of all the restaurants that will be participating when Kirkwood Avenue or portions of Kirkwood Avenue is shut down. It also simplifies and streamlines some of the aspects of the application for encroachments to make it easier on businesses. It allows staff at the Planning and Transportation Department to receive and give final approval to additional encroachments while these temporary measures are in place, again, until September 30th. And then finally, because we're dealing with a situation where the City Council will also be considering the approval of these temporary measures, Resolution 2020-28 is designed so that its temporary measures will only be effective if the City Council goes forward and ratifies them at its meeting next Wednesday, which is anticipated. So Mr. Crowley may have some additional comments to add, and of course, we're both happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Yes. Hi, Alex Crowley, Director of Economic Sustainable Development. Just a couple of other things to add. Number one, we recognize that there are certainly health considerations. We are trying to make sure that we don't create a bad situation by allowing this to happen. So the reason why we want to start off with a single weekend and spend a lot of time and energy really evaluating what happens is to ensure that we're not inadvertently creating an unhealthy situation. So that'll be part of what we are doing in this, and it's sort of helping to support the Kirkwood Community Association in their trial. They are also very sensitive to that. So they're on board and will make a determination after that first weekend whether or not it makes sense to continue. I would also say that, this has been originated by the Kirkwood Association. So we have seen in other communities where the city has come in and imposed something like this on blocks. We've seen that in Indianapolis and other cities. So we were
very much in favor of responding to them rather than initiating this ourselves. So just to be clear, this is a request that's come from the Kirkwood Association. It is their role and responsibility to get alignment for participating businesses. That will be done not only for the initial period, but any additional blocks that may want to be closed off later on, it'll be their responsibility to clear that with businesses. So that relieves any of us from imposing something that might not be wanted. And then finally, I would say that just in the broader context, as you all know, reopening has been happening. There was a very strong effort by the chamber to do some preparatory work in advance of the reopening process, and there were about 2.5 weeks of intensive webinars and Zoom meetings to educate people on how to do it, and they've been supporting that process ever since. So, we're pleased to respond to this request. We think it's an interesting idea. We'd like to see this initial trial and understand the dynamics of it, and look forward to potentially extending it into the future with your approval.
Thank you. Questions from the board on this item?
I do have a question. I think it's a great idea, and I'm just wondering that the temporary closure is on Kirkwood. What are the blocks to be included in this first phase of this on Kirkwood?
Do you want to comment, Alex? I think you've been corresponding.
Yeah, so let me just double check this, but I'm pretty sure that the initial closure will cover Grant to Indiana. And so it's, I guess, 2 blocks, right? And that's the initial closure, and that'll be the trial period for the 19th through the 21st. I think Mr. Worker specified this, but it would close at about 5 o'clock on Friday and reopen end of day on Sunday. So you'd have about 48 hours of closure. Or I'm sorry, yeah, 48 hours.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. I just wanted that clarified. Thank you.
Because oh, go ahead, Dana. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I just had a question about, so the Kirkwood Association, is that made up of local retail shops and restaurants?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they have participation from both, and so you'll see in the language of the request that it includes seating, and it also includes merchandising.
Okay, great, because I knew that there was a comment made yesterday about making sure that the language included both. Okay, great. And do you know how many entities are part of that group by any chance?
Mr. Wason might know the answer to that. Offhand, you're asking how many entities are part of the KCA?
The Kirkwood, Association.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Just wondering, like, if it was all of the restaurants and retail along Kirkwood, if there were, I guess the point I'm getting at is if a restaurant or retail shop did not want, the street closure in front of their business for one reason or another, how would they voice that? And where does that happen?
I'll jump in here, Dana. This is Adam. So what I'll say is that it's a representation of a vast majority of the businesses on Kirkwood. It's coordinated through Downtown Bloomington, Inc. as a subset of DBI, and there's an extensive mailing list. So this information has been provided out. I would guess that it's hit almost every property owner out there, and they continue that coordination and outreach as well as some of that we did.
If I can add, one of the ways that they're managing it, again, we were putting the responsibility of each block's either thumbs up, thumbs down to them. And the way that they're coordinating it is they've created a system of block captains. And so, each block has a kind of captain, and that captain goes around and needs to get the agreement of the businesses on the block, right? So they picked these 2 blocks initially because they got unanimous approval. They didn't pick other blocks because there was some question as to whether or not they could get that. So again, that's very much their responsibility, and it's good to do it that way because it's colleagues.
And just to piggyback on this, I think Alex alluded to it. This is a measure that we're seeing a lot of municipalities, a lot of cities take on, right? To try to shut down roads for periods of times and turn them into promenades to assist with social distancing and to help the local business community. So we're not the first, but we certainly think it's a good idea.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I first heard from a friend in Traverse City, Michigan, telling me that a couple of weeks ago, and I thought that's a really good idea. So I'm glad we're doing it.
And my question is really centered on Kirkwood and the unique nature of Kirkwood. It's been under construction for a couple months this spring, and we've now put in the bollard system that allows for street closure for festival purposes in kind of a different way than other streets would be handled. Am I correct in guessing that that is part of the element of this closure as well? The fact that the street has the infrastructure to support this type of a temporary closure?
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. Yes, absolutely. I think that's safe to say. I think we would entertain applications or interest from other business districts or business owners that might want to do similar type of things. I can think 4th Street between Dunn and Grant might be a great one. And I believe DPI has even reached out to some of those business owners as well. And this initial one is just an attempt to see how this goes and try to do a trial run, see what goes well, see what we struggle with, and make improvements. So I could certainly see this opening up to some other areas and things like that, which I think is what you're alluding to.
That was, one question I had was if there are other, blocks within the downtown, perhaps, that, expressed interest in a similar way, would that be something that we would take on a case-by-case basis with a similar resolution to process that?
I think so.
Yeah, and just to jump in real quick too, there are probably a couple ways to do this. Alex mentioned and ESD mentioned initially, you might even be able to do something like this with a special event permit, possibly. So there may be a couple of ways to go on these sorts of things.
Yeah, which would be, our typical process would look something like that. So that does make sense if there were an interest in this. And so the first trial weekend is the weekend of June 18th and 19th. Is that correct?
I think it's
19th, 20th, something like
yes.
that.
19th and 20th. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, 19th.
That Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
So yeah, 19th, 20th, 21st.
And something we talked about in the work session was that there will, of course, be pedestrian access through these blocks during the closure to vehicular traffic. That might change, like the access might look different than the access looks currently. So where merchants and restaurants may be utilizing what is currently sidewalk, there might be a pathway that exists elsewhere within the corridor that is designated for pedestrians. Is that correct?
Yeah, anywhere that the sidewalk access won't be maintained, we'll certainly be maintaining a ADA compliant walkway, whether that's down the center of the street, one side of the street or the other. Those are things that we're working out the details on, but absolutely.
Any other questions from the board on this item?
No.
Is there any public comment on this item?
Yes. Hi, I'm Mary Morgan. I am Director of Advocacy and Public Policy for the Greater Bloomington Chamber of Commerce. Just wanted to say that we support this effort. We're grateful to the city for moving it forward. And we've heard from several businesses in that area that this will be an important trial and hopefully successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment on this item?
I don't see any.
All right, I'm hearing none. Is there a motion from the board on this item?
I move approval of resolution 2020-28 to approve temporary street closure on Kirkwood Avenue to expand existing seating encroachments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next up is staff reports and other business.
No major staff reports today. Ryan Daly will be giving some updates on the garages at the next meeting, I believe. And otherwise for me, no major updates. Other than to say we're excited about Kirkwood. We're excited about all the construction projects that are ongoing, wrapping up and moving forward. And just want to wish everybody safety, happiness, and health out there in these trying times. But no other reports today.
Thank you. Next up is claims. Do we have any questions from the board on claims?
No.
No.
Is there a motion on claims?
I move that we approve claims $1,959,328. No, $1,959,328.54.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And if there's nothing else that we need to address this evening, I'd like to call for adjournment.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.